Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Just Talking About Sports. I'm Ethan.
I'm Matthew.
And I'm Jackson.
And Matt, what are we doing today?
Talking about the return of sports.
Woo! Woo! Sports are back, baby. And also, I'm back. Look at this. I'm back from Colorado as I took one podcast leave or one video leave because I'm finally back. And I'm back on the best day ever, August 1st, the return of sports, because my goodness, they are back. As we've got today, we're going to be talking about basically covering the return of the MLB, the return of the NBA, and then the return of the NHL. So today we're going to be starting off with the MLB. We're going to just basically, or at least for the return of the sports, we're just going to talk about how the teams have been returning, how teams, like certain teams in different sports, have been producing, and maybe talk about our favorite teams if we get to it. But for now, we're going to start off with the MLB and the return that they had a little bit earlier than the other two sports, as they started July 24th, but they've had a little bit of a more rocky start, to say the least. So without further ado, I have to ask, how do you guys believe that the MLB has opened up so far?
I hate to use the word nightmare, but part of me thinks it has been. Yes, it's been great to see the return of baseball. Love every minute of it. It's nice to be able to see that portion of summer activity be back in a respect, but they need to learn how to handle this virus, because right now they are doing a horrific job of doing so. I think we're up to 19 for Miami in positive cases.
20, yeah.
Yeah, is it 20 now? Jesus. We've got the Cardinals got an outbreak going. There's somebody else. Lorenzo Cain, one of the star players, just opted out. He won't be the last person to do so either, especially considering the trend we're on. Hopefully they can turn this around. They should have implemented a bubble, and we'll talk about that. I'm happy to see it back. I'm just unsure of how long it'll last without a bubble scenario.
Yeah, I'm really excited that they're back. Cubs opening day, I dressed up in a Cubs jersey, Cubs hat, posted a picture on Twitter, yes, the Cubs are back, all that kind of good stuff. I was really excited just because this 4-month span without sports, which is crazy to think about, that we've gone since March 11th without North American pro sports, is insane. Because usually the most we go without is a week. So
lines, yeah.
So to go 4 months and finally have baseball back, I'm excited. I'm excited how well the Cubs are doing. Thankfully, no one on the Cubs has contracted the virus yet. But I definitely agree with Matthew. Knock on wood, knock on wood.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very happy. But I agree with Matthew that the MLB needs to institute a bubble. They kind of just went willy-nilly with it. Oh, yeah, let the teams travel all over the place. Yeah, let's have teams travel to the hot spot in Florida, the hot spot in Texas, and all that, a hot spot in California. And it's you have to look at what the other pro sports are doing, and it's oh, yeah, the NBA, 0 positive tests since July 20th. Oh, yeah, the NHL, 0 positive tests since going into the bubble.
Logic. Let's think logic.
Right.
Maybe we should all live in a bubble. Maybe we should all just grab 200 people and just live in a bubble. I'm kidding, obviously, but it's really working for the other sports. So, I mean, you got to take consideration for at least the MLB.
Yeah.
I talked about this last week. 3 bubbles. 1 for the West, 1 for the Central, 1 for the East. That's not easy to do. I understand that. But you got to try and find a way for that to work.
Mm-hmm.
Because aren't the divisions already split up by location?
Yeah, and they're split into 3. There are 3, I guess, locations, divisions, whatever you want to call them, conferences: the West, the Central, and East. Which that is how the MLB is already to begin with. They didn't really have to do much changing. It's just that they play those more certain type of teams. But for me, I do like this idea for the bubble. It's easy. I guess it's a lot easier because less people will get sick and we'll be able to get these games going. There'll be probably less double headers and even sometimes triple headers on if the Marlins are getting farther behind from schedule.
Quadruple headers.
I know at this point, because they've only played 3 games while other teams are playing their 6th and 7th and even 8th games this week. So it's getting a little out of hand, I think, for the Marlins' sake. But besides that, though, at least if we're going to move away from this whole like bubble situation idea, for the MLB just as a straight up whole, it's been actually playing very, very well. The ratings are up double, even triple. People are watching it like crazy, even though they're not as long. At least they've plenty of the teams are making games very, very interesting, especially down to the wire. There's high scoring games. There's not many low scoring games, which is actually surprising. But even to fix with some of the double headers too, is that they also the commissioner Rob Manfred came out and basically said for all those double headers because of the coronavirus stuff, or if you ever have a double header, even like how the Cubs and the Reds recently, they had a rain out because if you saw that weather like that a few days ago, that was yikes to say the least. But I think that's or basically remember I've read basically said that they'll be doing double headers, but the seventh inning or they'll only go to 7 innings, so it's saving things. Maybe they'll adopt this for all of baseball. We'll have to see, but I'm liking the way that the MLB is returning. It's looking very, very great. Teams are, at least compared to our predictions video, we're looking very, very good, me and Matt, for our predictions, except for a few teams like the Jays and the Rockies. Those are our 2 exceptions so far. But besides that, we're looking pretty good from that.
Yeah.
But
I will say this.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go.
I do want to say this. Like, we talked about the unpredictability of a season like this in 60 games. It's worth mentioning that we're, depending on the team, 7 to 8 games in already. So you're already getting a good indication of where we stand in terms of which teams are going to be those top dogs, which teams are going to be the laughing stocks. And I will say, you think a team like the Orioles or a team like the Royals would be like 1-7, 0-8. Not only are the Orioles are holding themselves together, which is shocking.
Baffling.
Baffling. The Royals were not anymore, at 1 point 500. Not yet. Again, like I said.
Wild.
Whoa.
Whoa.
The Padres are playing ridiculously well. Called it. And I think that you realize in this kind of season, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crapshoot. You can see one team just start playing really well. All of a sudden, you win like 6 straight games, and that's a 10th of the season. And you just won all of that, and that's huge. Winning like 6 straight games in this is like winning 16 straight games in a normal season.
Yes. Basically, 1 win is equal to 8 games. If you do the math, I'm pretty sure 8 or 6 or 8 games. So every game really matters for the MLB. But yeah, I've just loved how it's been going so far, and I hope it continues. And hopefully, these people get better soon, and they actually quarantine themselves and stop spreading it throughout their teams. And hopefully, the Cardinals don't turn into the Marlins, so that they have to cancel the season, because that's like the worst possibility for how the MLB is going. But I think that as long as the MLB stays healthy, that they're looking very good. I'm being very entertained, and I'm enjoying how my Cubbies are doing so far. So we'll end on that note and move on to the next part of our return to the sports, which is the NBA, which started July 30th. And I'll let Matt start us off with this one.
All right, quick little recap of our first 2.5 days of NBA basketball. As he said, July 30th start. We started with Zion and Rudy Gobert going head-to-head. The man who ended the regular season starts it up again for the Jazz and Mr. Gobert. We had the Battle of L.A. Late Thursday night. We saw last night what happens when teams don't play defense in the Rockets-Mavericks. We see mainly scrimmages. We saw players we never knew could really ball out, play extremely well. We saw guys like Isaac Bonga for the Wizards take a leadership role on a team that is completely depleted. Never thought I'd say Isaac Bonga is a leader of any team, but here we are. Bol at small forward and Jokic at point guard. Too much 2K is being played by these general managers here. If you're playing Jokic at point guard, I give full respect. But we saw LeBron starting us off with clutch against the Clippers. We see guys like right now, TJ Warren's going off as we're recording this. De'Aaron Fox last night played very well for the Kings in a losing effort. You're going to see performances like this that shape up the rest of our playoffs. the NBA has done a splendid job, in major contrast to the MLB, in handling the virus. No positive cases since July 20th. Anybody who misses tests is forced to miss their next game. Anybody who leaves the bubble must quarantine. And if you're as stupid as Lou Will, then you deserve to be out for 2 weeks. The NBA is doing the best that they can, and although their rules may seem strict, it's the world we live in right now. They're doing a fantastic job. NBA is back. They've got fan noises. They've got people who are allowed to virtually check into the games. Unbelievable job by the NBA. This is a sport we knew had plans for this type of virus situation, and they are doing fantastic with it.
Yeah, I think I haven't been able to catch a lot of it. I caught a little bit of Lakers Clippers. I caught a little bit of Mavericks Rockets. And it's just been fantastic. At least during the winter and stuff like that, basketball, I'm really heavy into basketball. It's obviously it's in my top 3 favorite sports. So it's been exciting to see that back. I think one performance that's getting heavily underrated is James Harden's performance at least more so offensively against the Mavericks. Everyone's going crazy for LeBron hitting game winner when he had 16, 11, and 7, which is a good stat line, but people are going crazy saying he had a great game, and then you see someone like James Harden drop 49 points on 70% shooting, and barely a peep is made about it on Twitter and other social media. So I think that's definitely been underrated. But no, I definitely agree with you, Matthew, that the NBA has done a fantastic job with how they've handled COVID-19. They've had a few people leave the bubble and come back. Zion was just barely able to make it in to play against the Jazz. I've heard conflicting reports about Lou Will. Some people said he left for a strip club. Some people he left for wings.
It's both.
Some people said he left for a family matter.
Yeah.
So
that was his original thing. He left for a family matter, but on his way back to the bubble, he stopped at a gentleman's club to get wings. Getting more wings.
Okay.
But
okay. And then
continue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously Montrez is still out. So, but yeah, I think it's just so good. I've been watching it on my phone and stuff like that. It's just so good to have basketball back. I love watching it, and I hope that it continues to have 0 positive tests, regardless of what a certain Denver Nuggets player said, who shall remain nameless for now.
Yeah. Just keep it that way, please.
don't want to get you too riled up, Matthew. So, but yeah, I've enjoyed watching it, and I can't wait to see who becomes the champion in October.
Lakers.
We'll see about that, but yeah, this is a lot more of a more serious league, I think, out of all the other leagues, because they have been doing a great job, like in all parts of it. One, obviously fixing the coronavirus and stopping the spread of it. 2, they've been super great with all their basically their protesting and being allowing all the certain things that they're allowing people to do, except for Jimmy Butler's jersey, but that's besides the point. And then obviously 3, they've just been a leader for the rest of the professional leagues, and how to, I guess, lead, how a league should be run nowadays with all this pandemic and how things have been going. It's great to see that there's actually success in sports, because this means, compared to Matthew a few months ago when he thought sports were never coming back, now we've got 3 different leagues. We're all happy. There's leagues that have some success, especially like the NBA now, that we're able to enjoy and hopefully going to be able to enjoy for the next few months, and more knock on wood. But I'm just liking how Adam Silver is running this league. And as I said, I don't really usually like to watch the NBA as much, just because I don't know. I've always had the excuse where it's just you could predict the same teams that are going to win every single year. There's never an underdog, so it's hard to, and me being the underdog team, it's hard to cheer for anybody. But this year, I think is a little bit more different, because there's a lot more. I'll let you speak. I'll let you speak. But I think this year there's a lot more different teams that have potential, and I think that's why this year's going to be a little bit more different. The NBA has been hyping up, and it's been getting more and more entertaining as teams are beginning to build dynasty, especially after this year's free agency. I mean, my goodness. But I think this year, playoffs, since the NBA is in the playoffs right now, they are they're in the mini regular season right now, just like, I guess, kind of like the MLB, but theirs is a little bit smaller. There's only 8-game regular season. And then they'll get into some more playoff basketball where the players will actually try, and things will be more interesting, and it'll be fun basketball to say the least. So I can't wait for the NBA, how it's going to be looking, and think that's good. Unless Matthew want to talk smack about how
I just wanted to add one really quick thing, and it's the fact that although you can somewhat predict every year the favorites, we see most of the teams from last year, not most of the team, like a Warriors team, they're not even in this bubble. There are also the NBA is forever changing because free agency drops a bomb every 12 months. And the entire league almost reshifts every year. And that's what makes the NBA so interesting, whereas the NFL and the MLB, you're signing like 15-year contracts. Not the NFL, well, unless you're Mahomes. But you're not signing like long-term contracts really for the NBA. You don't really see any. I've never seen the contract, I think, over 6 years in the NBA, ever. Whereas it's completely different for like the NFL, the MLB, the NHL. They're different. It's not the same.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But I think that this NBA, I'm liking how it is. Hopefully it continues. And for now, I'm watching the NBA. What a coincidence. But that now, I guess, now that we're done talking about the NBA, I guess we went from a league that doesn't look like it's doing so well to the league that's probably doing the best, and now kind of the one that's in between, which is the NHL. And I'll let Jackson start off with this one since he's wearing his Blackhawks stuff, of course.
Yes, wearing my Jonathan Toews jersey today, so it's been a good day. But funny, as you mentioned it, the NHL officially started today.
Today's August 1st for all those.
August 1st, yes, August 1st. They played a couple of scrimmage games beforehand. Just for people who don't know, the NHL is working under the top 24 teams made it in, and 5 through 12 of both conferences are playing a play-in tournament. So you could potentially see a 12 seed sneak in. It's a best-of-5 series. And we already had some interesting games today. The Hurricanes beating the Rangers today. They're not as deeply parted in terms of seeding, but the upset of the day, and part of the reason why I'm wearing my gear, is the Chicago Blackhawks, the 12 seed, dominated the 5-seeded Edmonton Oilers 6-4. Wasn't even that close, to be honest. It was 6-2. At the start of the third period for the Hawks. So Dominic Kubalik had 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists. Jonathan Toews, 2 goals and an assist. And a couple more games. The Islanders beating the Panthers. Devin Toews, no relation, had an assist for the Islanders. And then right now the Canadiens are leading the Penguins 1-0. Just about to end of the first period. And then there's one more game tonight again between the Winnipeg Jets and the Calgary Flames. So the biggest difference between the NBA and the NHL in terms of how they're handling the bubble is the fact that they actually have 2 bubbles. So instead of just having one big bubble with every team like the NBA in Orlando, they're doing 2 separate bubbles. The Western Conference play-in tournament is happening in Edmonton, and the playoffs will continue. The regular playoffs will continue in Edmonton for the West, while the East is playing out in Toronto. Now, considering how hockey is, I actually like this. I like that they have 2 separate bubbles, and I'm glad they both picked them in Canada. I think, like, in terms of bubble locations between the 2 leagues, the NHL clearly won. Like, yeah. So, but no, I think it's been fantastic. I haven't been able to watch any of the games yet just because I was busy during the Blackhawks game today. So I might try and stay up and watch Winnipeg and Calgary. So that should be fun. But yeah, it's been fantastic to watch so far. It's going to be, I'm hoping and praying Hawks can go for another one through the 2010s decade, which would be pretty cool. So, but yeah, I mean, they've done a fantastic job. No positive test yet since they've come into the bubble. And it should be interesting to see how it goes. And just one more quick note before I hand it off to the rest of you guys. The top 4 seeds will play a quick round robin tournament to determine who will be the 1 seed. So I believe the top 4 in the West is.
I got you. It's St. Louis, Vegas, Dallas, and Colorado are in the West, and then Washington, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, and Boston in the East.
Thank you. So those 4 teams, after I believe in a few days, will start out that side of their tournament to determine who could be the 1 seed. So we could see Dallas as the 1 seed in the West, and we could see Philadelphia as the 1 seed in the East, which should be really interesting. But I'm going to go ahead and hand off to you guys and give your thoughts.
So basically, I'll start out with this one because we did sadly lose March Madness this year. But thank you to all the sports gods for bringing us a replacement for this year's 2020, otherwise known as the NHL Madness, or however one you want to call it, August Madness, August Ambitious. I don't know any.
August Ambitious. I
don't even know.
That is impressive for something that you just came up.
Top of my head, something from the top of my head. I think that's a good way to put it. But they're going to be playing hockey playoffs. It's going to be constantly like playing just like hockey, one game after another. And just like March Madness, not as many games going on at the same time, but it's still going to be one after another, constant hockey the entire day for a few months. It is just going to be amazing. I cannot wait. The NHL has been, for sure, they've been, for this whole coronavirus and pandemic, and they've been playing they've been doing it or working it very, very well, just like the NBA. But they're obviously in Edmonton and Toronto, where I guess it's a lot less Florida-ness.
I don't even know how to respond to that. A lot less Florida-ness.
I don't even know. They deserve their own adjective anyway. But I think that I am absolutely hyped for the NHL. This has been the one sport compared to, I guess, the MLB. I'm hyped to have them be back for the regular season, but obviously the playoffs, we got to wait for them. The NBA, it's technically not the playoffs yet, where the NHL at the moment right now in the return of sports, the sport to watch right now is the NHL just because of how hype it is. Every game is going to count. Now they're already in game series. It's the playoffs already compared to the other 2 sports. And that's why I am ecstatic about how everything is happening and the games are being constantly, obviously the Hawks winning right now. I was beyond me that the Edmonton had a home field advantage because they're playing in Edmonton, and Hawks still won 6-4 coming back just like that is surprising. But and just seeing hockey back, especially with it only took a minute and a half into the Carolina and New York game to start a fight. So hockey's back. I can't wait. And I'll leave it over to Matthew now for his opinion.
This is something I just wanted to add. And for many years, it was NBA, NFL, college sports, and MLB. But over the past couple of years, I've grown to love the NHL mainly because the unpredictability. I'm just going to remember last year when I was a freshman, an innocent freshman. Me and Jackson did a competition for brackets for the playoffs, and I had the Lightning winning the whole thing in a sweep, losing 2 playoff games.
Oh my God.
I also believe I had who did I have against them in the finals? I think I had who was the 1 seed last year in the West?
Keep talking and I'll go look it up really quick.
Pretty sure it was a Calgary? Whatever.
Yes, it was Calgary.
Yeah. They lost, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You're not going to see that in the NBA. I'm telling you right now. The Nets and the
they lost
Blazers
to the
Grizzlies.
They also lost to the 8-seeded Avalanche. They lost in like 6 games, but
yeah, talk about unpredictable.
And they averaged the conference finals, right? Whatever, something like that. The ridiculousness of the MLB is what makes it so entertaining.
NHL.
Like, we already – NHL, sorry. Woof. over my head. But we already know the Tampa Bay Lightning are losing the first round of the playoffs. I don't even care who they play. That just forget they exist. But if they win a Stanley Cup this year, of course, it's the kind of year for them to do that. But this is what makes the NHL different than everything else. Like, it really – we think the MLB and NBA are crapshoots sometimes. You haven't seen the NHL yet. I mean, an 8 seed or the 12-seeded Blackhawks can win the Stanley Cup, and I wouldn't be like, oh, my God. That is what makes this sport so great, and it's why I think if you are a sports fan and you really never gave hockey a chance, this is the time to do that because you're going to see, in my opinion, you will see a 12 seed move on to the actual playoffs. I don't want to jinx you guys, but I think it's going to happen.
I think we've jinxed a lot already in this video. We might as well keep them on wood.
Might as well.
Might as well. Just throw it all out the door. But I'm going to just tie it all in right here at the end. Sports are back, and we're seeing certain sports like the MLB fail really to keep us safe. But I know if you're an NBA or an NHL fan, I really don't think you have to worry anymore. You've got sports. It's time to celebrate it. We got a whole another few months here. It's time to have fun. August is going to be a fun month for sports, and this is just day number 1 of it.
So quickly adding on to what Matthew was saying about if you haven't given hockey a chance, NHL playoffs are severely underrated when it comes to playoffs. Yes, I know you have
every year. Yeah,
you have single elimination games in the NFL. I won't say that NHL playoffs are better than March Madness. That's on another stratosphere. But overtime NHL playoffs are, especially if you're a fan of a team in that overtime, is some of the most fun and stressful environments you can go into.
You'll begin to have my fingernails. AKA none.
Being a Blackhawks fan, and thankfully they've had success for 10 years, which is crazy to think about. And just seeing overtime after overtime in 2013 against the Red Wings, coming back from a 3-1 deficit. I believe winning in triple overtime in 2015 against Anaheim. That triple overtime game in Game 1 of 2013 Stanley Cup Finals. So it's
always classic.
I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now. So it's, especially if you're already a fan, but if you're not, if you're from this area, watch some Blackhawks games, of course. And if when it goes to overtime, it gets. I was watching last year Dallas and St. Louis in the second round.
That was a classic.
I wasn't a fan of either team, and it was so much fun, especially because Ben Bishop was playing out of his mind. But but as I digress, watch some playoff hockey if you're a sports fan and haven't given NHL the proper chance. We need the NHL to keep growing. I don't want to see it go away because of financial reasons, because we all love the NHL.
I love it.
We all love sports. We want to see as many sports as possible continue to go on, especially during this time. A lot of sports are losing money. Boo-hoo, $1 billion. I know. But give yourself something to enjoy. You bet you'll like it watching more than soccer or cricket or golf. So
or Korean basketball or Korean baseball organization.
Yes.
That's not just Korean baseball. That was one of the first.
Don't rip on my golf.
That was one of the first.
Don't rip on my golf. Don't.
I'll give golf a compliment. I would rather watch golf than watch paint dry.
Yes.
But I would literally rather clean up my
that.
backyard than watch golf. I'll just leave it at
You're
that.
making a grave mistake.
All right, we'll leave it with Matthew pissed off. Perfect way to end it. As this probably concludes our, I think, 32nd episode of Just Talking About Sports and the return of sports. Yes! Return of sports. Sports are back. Cannot wait. Look forward for more videos. Before I head off to colleges, I'm going to try and film as many as I can. And now that sports are back, we've got plenty to talk about. So look forward to that. But now that sports are back, I cannot wait. And I think other than that, I think that's going to conclude our video. Hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.
And don't forget to leave a like, comment if you want, and subscribe, baby.
Yes,
Let's get it.
subscribing helps out the channel. And
Plugs,
watching
there
NHL hockey.
plugs.
Gotta
But
always put the plug at the end.
yes.
Have a good day, everybody.
All right.
Peace.
See you later.